Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Mrs. Ezine and today I'll be starting my lecture for the course Psychological Basis for Health Behavior and Change Process. Don't go anywhere. So if you're new to my channel, I'm a lecturer who is passionate about helping students succeed in the university. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell to be notified of new posts, and also follow me on other social media platforms like Instagram, Telegram, and on WhatsApp if you want more academic tips and tutorials to help you get the good result that you deserve. Let's continue with our lecture. So the lecture for today is specifically made for public health students, but if you just want to learn more on the psychological basis for health behavior and change process, you can continue watching and listening. If you have any question, leave them in the comment section below and I'll try my best to answer it. Now remember, I've also written books that will help you academically to succeed in university. The link to the book to get them is in the description box below, or you can send me an email to get them directly from me. So now that we are done with all that bit, let's head on to the lecture. Once again, the course is Psychological Basis for Health, Behavior and Change Process. Today we'll be starting with a little introduction to this very course, and by the time we are done with this course, you would have the meaning of psychology, how psychology works, goals of psychology, and branches of psychology. So, what's the meaning of psychology? When you hear the word psychology, of course, it has to do with mental health. According to the World Web Dictionary, it is the science of mental life, the mental characteristics of a particular individual. So, psychology is an applied science. Okay, it's not just theoretical, it's applied science that basically studies the mind and behavior of human beings like you and I. It includes both the conscious and the subconscious part of the mind. Okay, the part that you are aware of and the part that you are not really aware of. It is a very complex subject, and it requires a lot of research, and after conducting this research, certain principles are formed on the basis of which minds and behavior are studied. Okay, so it takes a lot of time to study the mind and also the behavior of human beings to conclude on certain principles that will help us to make it better, so to say. Psychology doesn't just play these roles in hospitals alone. Okay, you can find it every day of our lives, and you can find it in every profession. Everybody needs it, and it helps a lot of people, not just people in the science world. So how does psychology work? It works through research. A research is conducted and involves particular systematic procedures that go on, whereby data are collected for this research and inferences are made. These inferences become principles that can now lead to a generalization, but it's not as simple as it seems, as a lot of people are working on it. You can't just say, oh, this person sleeps a lot and therefore the person is depressed. No, or you can just pass on a judgment just like that because of what you just observe at a particular time. No, it has to do with several diagnoses and a criteria that has been specified and that has been laid out to be followed. If that person meets up to the criteria, you can now say, okay, yes, this person is depressed or has anxiety disorder or something like that. So a lot of research has gone into forming this statement. Hundreds and thousands of experiments on people, not animals, on people, because psychology has to do with people, have had to be carried out, and then the results will be gotten and seen, and these results are then interpreted in such a manner that some logic can be formulated from it. Psychology therefore involves research related to memory, thinking, learning, motivation and the rest. Every single topic is researched upon in great detail, And critical evaluation is also done before passing a generalized statement. So you can't just say, oh, this person is depressed. No, you have to meet a certain criteria. They have to check you, do a lot experiment on you, and see, okay, do you truly have this, before they conclude and say, oh yes, you have this particular disorder, or this is why you are behaving this way. The scientific method here is the set of procedures used by researchers to create questions, gather data, and then arrive at the conclusion. Scientific method is the part of empirical process used by psychologists, sorry. These are people that study psychology through school. Okay, they are known as psychologists, to conduct research whereby they are using true experiments or another type of research method. Researchers then follow the 5 basic steps of the scientific method, which we will see now. Number 1 is to formulate a testable hypothesis. That's where you start from. You start from a hypothesis, a hypothesis that you can test. Then you now design a study, then you collect the data, analyze the data, then you arrive at the conclusion. Then after arriving at this conclusion, being sure of everything, you now share the findings with the community, starting with your, of course, your psychological community, then with the world. That is how psychology works. Now, what is the goal of psychology? The ultimate goal of psychology is to benefit everybody in the society. And we have, by through describing behavior, say, why does this person behave this way? Predict behavior, what this person is likely to do, or what human beings are likely to do if put in this type of situation. Explain behavior, why people behave this way, why certain type of people like criminals behave this way, and be able to control behavior. Okay, some people's behavior are just at the bad side of the behavior spectrum, if you understand what I mean. So you should be able to control behavior and bring that person back to the right aspect of that spectrum. So there are some branches of psychology. Remember that this is an introductory lecture, and I'm just introducing you to the idea of psychology. Okay, so we have different types of branches of psychology. Number 1, we have the behavioral psychology, which is also known as behaviorism. Okay, it's the study of how behavior are related to our mind. Remember, psychology has to do with our mind and behavior. Note the word mind and behavior. Okay, so now this behavioral psychology has to do with just our behavior related to our mind. Sorry, pardon me. Why is this thing doing like this? Next one is biopsychology. Okay, this has to do with biology mixed with psychology. Okay, it analyzes how the brain, neurotransmitters, and other aspects of our biology, influence our behavior. Remember, biology is the study of life, so it has to do with all our bodies, our thoughts, how it influences our behavior, thoughts, and feelings. Okay, biopsychology, which is also referred to as psychobiology or biological psychology, studies the functions of the normal, injured, and poorly developed brains. Okay, some people's brains are poorly developed, and this is the aspect of psychology that handles it. So the next one is cognitive psychology. Of course, it is the study of the mind as well, but as an information processor. It has to do with how we remember things, the language we use, how we memorize stuff, how we pay attention, learning and all that, problem solving and thinking. Of course, when cognitive comes to your mind, it has to do with the way the brain thinks. Okay, that is that aspect of psychology. The next one is comparative psychology. Now, remember I said that psychology has to do with humans. Okay, but now looking at comparative psychology, it looks at animals compared to humans. There are some animals that are related to humans, that their biological makeup is related to humans, such as ape and monkeys and the rest. Okay, so they study these animals to be able to find out things about the human body, about the human brain. So it refers to the study of mental faculties and behavior of animals other than human beings. Okay, while developmental, cognitive and other forms of psychology focus primarily on humans, cooperative psychology typically studies animals that are genetically related to human beings, like I said, apes, monkeys and other animals that look like us, so to say. Anyway, so we study comparative psychology to be able to understand the human mind better. Okay, or study animals to understand human mind better. Okay, the next one is developmental psychology. It is the branch of psychology that studies the growth and maturation of a person, right from baby, from the infant stage to childhood stage to the adult stage. Okay, over time. The study of the developmental psychology is essential to understand how humans learn. Okay, right from when they are small, you see how babies, they start crawling, they learn what to eat, how to taste, all that thing, their behavior starts coming out. And now, and when they become an adult, you just look at that. Some people go through childhood trauma, so by the time you understand their childhood, you'll be able to understand why they behave this way as an adult. Okay, so this includes things such as physical, cognitive and social changes, and how each of these affects us during the different stages of our life. The next one is educational psychology. Of course, if you hear the word educational, what comes to your mind is education, is school. So it has to do with how individuals learn, okay, including topics such as student outcomes, the academic process, individual differences in learning, gifted learners and various learning disabilities. Yes, this is where you hear dyslexia, for example, the common one, where someone has difficulty in reading and writing. This is where they study such things and be able to prescribe things that will help this set of people to be able to overcome their disability. Okay, next one is forensic psychology. I love forensic psychology because it has to do with combining psychology with the justice system. Okay, so it's the application of psychological knowledge and methods to legal questions. You see them, it has to do with handling criminals and the rest. So forensic psychologists focus on the application of psychological theory and practice to the criminal, court and correction system to make our judicial system better. Okay, so the next one is experimental psychology, which can be defined as the scientific and empirical approach to the study of the mind. The experimental approach means that tests are being administered to participants with both controlled and experimental conditions, trying to find out, why do people behave this way, comparing one set of people to the other set of people. The next branch is health psychology. Okay, this is the aspect that we are dealing with as public health practitioners. It has to do with the study of psychological and behavioral process in health, illness and healthcare. It is an area that focuses on how biology, psychology, behavior and social factors influence health and illness. So it has to do with the determinants of health and how it influences psychological makeup. So the next one is personality psychology. It's the scientific discipline that studies how people's personality develop. Okay, how the personality of people influence the way they think and behave, as well as how as well as how it varies between individuals. You have your own personality, I have my own personality. So this branch of psychology checks or looks out for why we are different and how they can help us to be better in our own aspects. So the last one we'll be looking at is social psychology. It has to do with the behavior of individuals in their social and cultural setting. Now note that these are not the only branches of psychology we have. We have sports and we have other branches of psychology. I just mentioned about 11 here so that you are aware that it's kind of a very, very big tree. Okay, psychology is big. So next we'll be looking at the difference between psychopathology, psychiatry and psychology. These terms are related. Okay, psychopathology has to do with pathology aspect of psychology. I just rhymed, right? So it's the study of the origin, development, diagnosis, and treatment of mental and behavioral disorders. It has to do with the origin, the development, and the diagnosis. Of course, treatment of behavioral disorders. Remember, it is under pathology. Now, psychiatry is under medicine. It is the branch of medicine that subjectively diagnoses, treats, prevents, and studies mental illness and behavioral conditions. That is one of the difference. The next one is that psychology is the study of the human mind and behavior. It kind of encompasses everything, okay? Psychology is focused more on the mind and behavior. Psychiatry is is more focused on the treatment, diagnosis of mental illnesses, while psychopathology has to do with the pathological aspect of the whole thing. Now we have psychotherapy, which is also related to psychopathology and psychology. Now, psychotherapy is conducted with individuals, groups, or people in general, which help them to overcome stress, emotional and relationship problems or troublesome habits. Now, a psychotherapist, that's the person that studies psychotherapy, may be a psychiatrist, psychologist, or other mental health professional. Okay, so after studying psychiatry, you can go ahead to study psychotherapy. And these psychotherapists who have had further specialist training in psychotherapy, they go ahead and have a special training in it. So increasingly, there are a number of psychotherapists who do not have these backgrounds that I just mentioned, but who have undertaken in-depth training in this area. I think it takes about 4 years before you can become a psychotherapist, okay? So you might have this background as an edge, or you might not have this background. Now, let us look specifically at the difference between psychiatry and psychology, because people keep mixing it up, especially when you want to get a job in that area, okay? Psychiatrists practice medicine. They are medical doctors and use their clinical experience to treat mental, emotional, and behavioral disorders using what? Medication and psychotherapy. Okay, so they are medical doctors. However, psychologists, their discipline, their course, which is psychology, is a discipline with origins in philosophy. It's concerned with the mind and human behavior. Just know psychology, mind and behavior. Psychology, mind and behavior, okay? That is the major aspect of it. Those are the key words in psychology. Now, while they treat emotional and social abnormalities, most psychologists cannot prescribe medication, so they often work hand in hand with psychiatrists. A psychologist cannot work without a psychiatrist because they cannot prescribe medication. Okay, so they end up referring their patients to psychiatrists. Now, the clinical training and education also differ between psychologists and psychiatrists. Psychology students study cognition and human behavior. Cognition, thinking, the mind, and human behavior, whereas psychiatry students focus more on the biological aspect and on medicine. Okay. Psychologists also earn a Doctor of Philosophy, that is PhD, or Doctor of Psychology. So they earn PhD or the Doctor of Psychology. However, psychiatrists hold a Doctor of Medicine. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying. Let me come again. Okay, psychologists, after reading their 4-year BSc course, go ahead to read their masters. The next level is PhD, which they study for about 4 years before they can obtain their doctorate degree. But psychiatrists, remember, are medical doctors, so they go through the 6 years in medical school, come out, and can now specialize in psychiatry, earning Doctor of Empathic Medicine, or they just become an MD in their field of psychiatry. because there are different fields in medicine that you can specialize in, and one of those fields are psychiatry. And I think with this you should be clear with the difference between psychiatry and psychology, and also psychotherapy and psychopathology. Do not mix them up. For this course, we are looking at psychology, psychological basis for health behavior and change process. Remember, if you have any question, please leave it down in the comments section below, and I will see you in my next class. Thank you. So we have come to the end of today's lecture, and I hope you really learned something. Remember that this was just an introductory lecture. If you have any question, leave it in the comment section below, and I'll answer it. But if it's really urgent and you really need to ask me that question, you can send me a message on WhatsApp or on Telegram, and I will answer you. Now stay tuned for the other lectures by clicking the notification bell so you'll be notified of the time I post the next lecture. Now remember that this course is very easy to pass as long as you watch these lectures and do your assignments, and follow the tips I'm going to give at the end of this lecture, and I promise you will come out with nothing less than a C. Okay, so thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe as well, and tell your colleagues as well. Thanks for watching. See you in my next lecture. Bye.